Good morning. We are already on to week 4. Hope you're hanging in there. Please let me know again if you're having any trouble or questions. And again, I want to remind you that sometimes a text or email may not be sufficient for you. So don't hesitate. If I give you some tips or whatever and you're like, I'm still struggling, please don't hesitate just to call. Sometimes just things can be cleared up a lot more easily that way than in an email, which at least in the phone you've got some tone to work with. So just a reminder there. Also, the group meetings on Wednesday. We're not going to try to do that any longer. I got some feedback from students and I've talked to other professors. And if we ever want to try this in the future, I think some instructions need to be given at the beginning of the semester from the CTI folks to really make that work a little better. Too many people are trying to get on at the same time. Somebody gets bumped out. It's just overall kind of problematic. So please note, no more group Wednesday meetings. I'll try to cover everything in these Monday morning YouTubes. With that in mind, the first thing I want to talk about today is narrative argument. When analyzing literature, and please, if you weren't in the group meeting last time, please read that class email I sent out on literary analysis as to the need to really think abstractly and to really delve into connotations rather than denotations when you're analyzing. Narrative argument is what you're trying to get at when you analyze. It is not something you analyze, it is the end result of analysis. So you have, for example, the poem Dystopia. All of these different poetry terms that you kind of, and I kind of pulled out the ones that I thought were most important, that Josh Gibbons most relied on to convey his message in this poem. And that was image and diction. I would also say the speaker was important because the speaker's voice in this poem is very despairing. His tone is maybe a bit angry and frustrated, and there's some nostalgia. He dreams of what could have been. Freedom, basically, is what he's dreaming about. He says fields of color, and all of this is positive imagery as to what a free world is symbolically, as opposed to the gray world of this dystopian nightmare he's trapped in. The poem's argument, Gibbons wrote the poem. The title pretty much gives it away. In fact, just a reminder, never neglect to ponder a title. But the argument, the author, Gibbons, is arguing through the speaker in this poem that Big Brother, and that term comes from George Orwell's famous dystopian novel, 1984, that when Big Brother, the government, those in power, get too big, there's problems and freedom disappears. And if you study history, this is just a fact. Hitler's Germany or Stalin's Russia or Mao's China or Castro's Cuba. Study Venezuela today, North Korea. A government that has too much power results in a very gray life for the individual. So there's the message. There's the argument of the story. And the narrative argument is a message about life that doesn't have anything to do necessarily with what is going on in a poem or a story. It doesn't, and if you're writing a narrative argument statement, it doesn't mention a character or plot. It's the overall takeaway. Here's what the author wanted me to digest, his moral lesson that he wanted to convey. Harrison Bergeron, satire. Hopefully you did get some laughs out of the bizarre imagery But the narrative argument there, once you go through short story terms and put it together, is that equality, which normally, I mean, the word has positive connotations. Ooh, equality sounds good. Harrison Bergeron argues that carried too far, it can really be a negative for society. That if that is the all driving force, it supersedes individual freedom. We ate the children last. Whew. Fairly complicated story. And certainly hyperbolic, it's exaggerated, and I'll say, at least I hope it is. But the message there, the narrative argument, is that anything done in the name of progress, just because the goal is to progress, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a good thing. Progress without serious contemplation can be horrific. And we've seen that throughout history. Two fronts, various medicines that have gotten on the market too fast, and they have been pulled. World War I is an interesting examination in light of this story's narrative argument, because we had weaponry that really was too progressive for our understanding of what it would do as far as warfare. You still had people kind of lined up against each other, you know, like in the old American Revolution. And these weapons were not to be handled in that way. So we have to be very careful with what we call progress and how quickly we initiate progress. So that's certainly one of the arguments in this story. As I said, this is a complex story. It also has a lot to say about being one of the sheep. In the name of progress, and ooh, this is cool, and the next thing, do you just jump on the bandwagon? Because this horrific surgery suddenly became cool and trendy, and everybody wanted the scar. So this is a very, I think, interesting story. Maybe one of the most complex, deep ones you're reading, because it actually weaves these two ideas together. That progress, simply in the name of progress, can catch on, become trendy. Everyone's buying into it, and it can actually not be progressive at all. So maybe a little clarification there as to what is meant by narrative argument. Week 4, you are not going to be reading literature. You will instead be focusing on MLA. This is a research writing course. So research is kind of, you know, half of the purpose of the semester. I love literature. MLA, I'm not a detailed person. It is not hard. It is nitpicky. It is. If you like detail, okay, then you should have no problem with it. AC's research librarian, Emily Gilbert, has put together some work for you. She's excellent, and she is available to help you with research or with MLA, or basically with any of your writing activities. So this week you have 3 tasks. You will watch the video she has put together and answer questions she's designed. Then, kind of to reinforce all of this, you will read all of the information I have put up on your go to content research/MLA, and you find those pages, and you will have some discussion work there. Lastly, go to Purdue OWL MLA on the left-hand side in the sidebar. Please look at the sample paper all the way through. Particularly what I'm focusing on are the boxed comments that the editor has inserted to help you understand what's going on in this paper. And then you are simply to list what you found as the 10 most important little boxed comments from the beginning throughout the end of the paper. I want to really make sure you digest all of that, because I think it will help you immensely starting your first essay next week, which you certainly might go ahead and look over. Okay, that's week 4. Again, don't hesitate, call or text. Bye.